What's up, beautiful people? Jen here. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Jenna Lee, aka Jen Sparkly, commander of the Sparkle Army. Thank you so much for joining me in my little corner of the internet. Today I want to talk about something, I don't know the word to describe it. The shooting yesterday in Florida conjured up feelings that I've had for a very long time. And people who know me well know that for some reason, the Columbine tragedy of April 20th, 1999 really stuck with me. I have researched it tirelessly. I have exhaustive hours and hours and hours of research and reading and note-taking invested into that tragedy because it was the first really big one of its kind. We did have Jonesboro. There has been the one in Santee, California. There have just been entirely too many. The Columbine tragedy was a turning point because it was the very first tragedy of that caliber, and it was the first one at kind of the beginning of the internet's becoming a real fixture in not just culture, but really just our lives. It was the first where kids had cell phones, and it was the first time, I think, that reporters felt truly helpless. And so because it involved teenagers, all teenagers from that school were then deputized as insiders. And because of that, you had myths and falsehoods like Trenchcoat Mafia, Marilyn Manson, video games, and you had all these things that were just being thrown out. And none of those things factored into anything. But yet to this day, I see people online who are just like, well, yeah, they were goths. They were Marilyn Manson fans. No, they weren't actually. They actually both hated Marilyn Manson's music. That's the problem. Therein lies the problem. They were kids that nobody listened to. And how this ties into the shooting that happened yesterday, Nicholas Cruz, the gunman, was, by countless students' definitions, a disturbed young man, a very unhappy young man. Numerous students have said he seemed stressed out all the time. He was always hiding his face. He was unhappy. He always talked about guns. And this is a theme that seems to be repeating. It was the same thing with Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold in 1999. How are we in 2018 still not making a move when this happens? When you have a young man or woman, but in this case man, who is clearly disturbed. He posted on a YouTube video, I'm going to be a professional school shooter. You've got a wealth of evidence that something is very, very wrong here. And nobody made a move. Nobody. Now, I understand that schools are, teachers, administrators, etc., are overworked. I get that. I understand that. I do. But the young man was expelled for what has been called disciplinary problems. But yet you're hearing numerous students say he was so unhappy. He was miserable. He was tired of getting bullied and no one doing anything. Now, in the last few years, a whole lot of lip service has been paid to be a star. Don't be a bully. Bullying is wrong. Wear pink shirts for anti-bullying. But nothing is changing. We're putting Band-Aids on broken bones. Okay, something is really broken here. And you can't just say, oh, he was a shitty kid. He was a human being who was at the end of his line. Do I sympathize with him? Absolutely not. Is what he did acceptable in any way, shape, form, or fashion? Absolutely not. But at the end of the day, we are seeing the same thing happen over and over and over, and nothing has changed. We had, with Columbine, a wealth of Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold's journals. We were able to see how different these two kids were. We were able to see what drove them together. We were able to see a very powerful insight into what was going on in their mind, what was their innermost thoughts. It shone a spotlight on the gap between what kids will say to each other and what they communicate about with their parents. And it just seems like as time has progressed, what was once a gap is now an ocean. And more, when I go out, I'm seeing parents like, hush, hush, take my phone, take my phone, take my phone. Or here's a tablet, here, go play your game. This is not a babysitter. It's not supposed to do your job. Talk to your children. Clearly, we have a problem in this country. And it's not just rich kids. It's not just black kids. It's not just white kids. Across the board, teen suicides are up. And look at the content of their jokes. I've always had a morbid sense of humor. I admit that. But jokes about suicide are more commonplace than almost any other type of humor. And this is coming from kids 13, 15, 17, 18. How else can they tell you that there is a serious issue with self-esteem, self-loathing, and just doubt for their future? I could go on and on about the economy and education and how our generation can't afford to exist basically unless we work 16 and a half jobs, but that's neither here nor there, and that's another video for another day. It drives me crazy because every single school shooting, let's look back at Virginia Tech. What was his name? So Chung Wee. How many people said he was disturbed? A teacher even took one of his essays and turned it into authorities at the school and said, this is a problem that we need to look into. Once again, nothing. We have got to wake up and stop expecting other people to do our work for us. We've got to stop expecting a game on your phone to raise your child. You've got to stop sitting your kid in front of the computer and letting them watch Jake Paul and Logan Paul videos when you should be sitting with them doing their homework, asking about their day. So many kids, and now just from being on YouTube, I have talked with several teenagers, and I talked to them before making this video. I talked to 5 or 6 different ones, and I just asked, what's the biggest issue that you have with your parents? And you'd be amazed how many of them just say, I don't really ever talk to them, so I don't know. Outside of what do you want for dinner? Or what's the Wi-Fi password for today? That's unacceptable. That is unacceptable. Now, I understand that parents have to work and they have to support their family, and I understand that's time consuming, but you're responsible for human life. Make it work. That's why I don't have kids, because I know that I can't do that. I can't give that of myself, and I'm not going to bring another life into this world knowing that I can't be that. So I don't have kids. Plain and simple. I know I'm just kind of going in circles. I bullet pointed what I wanted to say, but it's just astounding to me that in 2018, the very same solutions that we didn't find in 1999 still exist. How many studies have been done? How many graphs have we seen? How many statistics have we read through pertaining to school shootings? But nothing's changing. We haven't moved the needle. If anything, it's worse. It's worse. And the kid posted online, "I'm going to be a school shooter." Where are your parents, kid? None of his friends thought to talk to someone and say, I don't think he's happy. Something is wrong. He was expelled for, once again, behavioral issues, which that hasn't been clarified and it hasn't been confirmed what specifically it was that he was expelled for. But fellow students all said that he was angry because he was bullied and no one did anything. Several students even went as far as to say, yeah, we've talked about school shooters and we've all said he's probably going to do it, or he'd be a school shooter, or it wouldn't surprise me if he did it. And one kid even said, wow, and then he did it. It's kind of like we predicted the future. That's crazy. It's not crazy. You guys were listening. You guys heard what he was saying. The problem is no one made a move. For all of this lip service we're paying to mental health awareness, anti-bullying, you can't just send a tweet saying, "Thoughts and prayers are with you." Yes, of course it's important to pray and talk to your Lord and Savior. I'll never discredit that. But at the same time, make a move. Talk to somebody. If there's a kid in your class who is clearly unhappy, who is clearly depressed, you don't even have to talk to that kid. Go to your teacher and just say, Jessica's really unhappy. I'm worried about her. And if that teacher blows you off, then you find another teacher. Then you find a counselor. Go to your principal. Somebody somewhere will listen to you. I hope. I hope. What do you guys think is the answer here? Guns scare me, but at the same time, I'm not anti-gun. I don't know what the answer is as far as gun control is concerned. I don't have a problem with people owning guns. I don't think it's necessary for anyone not in the military to have automatic weapons, AR-15s, AK-47s. I don't think that's necessary. But I also know that strengthening legislation is only going to affect the people who are already following the law, the people who already get their gun licenses, the people who are already responsible carriers of weapons. They're not the people we worry about. They're not the problem. So I don't know what the solution is with guns. I don't. And even if you started banning weapons, the people who wanted them for the wrong reasons are going to get them anyway. So I don't see what taking guns away or banning them is going to accomplish, other than making it really hard for the right people and the conscientious people to have one, and that's not acceptable. What's the answer? Because from where I'm concerned, there needs to be a higher value placed on mental health. And I don't just mean once a month having kids wear a pink t-shirt for anti-bullying. I don't just mean tweeting out a phone number every so often. I mean schools having trained psychiatrists, psychologists, whatever, on hand. Guidance counselors can't do everything, and if they're incapable, then get someone in the school who can help. When you have someone in your class who is clearly disturbed, don't just brush it off as, God, he's weird. No. I'd rather you be wrong than ignore it and another 20 people die. But yeah, now I'm going to ask you guys, what do you think? What needs to change? What is the solution here? I think we're all in agreement that rap music, violent video games, and Marilyn Manson are not the problem here. So, what do you guys think? Talk to me. Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I love every single one of you. And yes, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. As always, my social media links are going to be in the description box. My coupon codes are in the description box as well. And you guys, y'all stay beautiful. Bye.